Hi, I'm Erin Heaney of SURJ, and I'm here today sharing some updates on things that we've been tracking and sharing ideas for what those of us who are white can be doing to show up in these times. We're trying with the series to keep you informed, but of course not wallow or fall into doom scrolling, but trying to offer people concrete tools about how we can stay engaged in the fight for a multiracial democracy that works for all of us, not just the tiny few number of billionaires out there who seem determined to wreck the world. One of the things we've been following is the Mahmoud Khalil case. And, he is a US resident and organizer who's been detained by the Trump administration for speaking out on Palestine. On Friday, a Louisiana Supreme Court ruled that the government had met its burden to be able to deport Mahmoud. And the only reason they even have jurisdiction, mind you, is because he was illegally sent to a detention center in that state where the Trump administration knew they would get a more favorable ruling. This is maybe not a surprising ruling, but it definitely is alarming. And there are still several legal avenues available to him to be able to potentially keep him in the country. And we're going to continue to monitor this case. And this ruling came as more and more people connected to the struggle for Palestinian freedom, including attorneys and activists, writers. Others continue to be detained and threatened with deportation. And, we know that the Trump administration is going after the Palestinian movement first. And, we're showing up for Palestine both because we believe that the Palestinian movement is important and deserves to be defended in and of itself. And we know this is the tip of the spear in the fight for democracy and that they are using Palestine as the way in to come for all of us. We've also been following Kilmar Abrego Garcia's case. And, we know it's not just people who are engaged in free speech issues around Gaza. We're also seeing it going on in this case. Garcia is another U.S. resident who was deported to the horrific El Salvador mega prison by quote unquote administrative error. Both Trump and the right-wing government have been involved in a pretend dance where both of the governments, the U.S. government and the El Salvadorian president, are both claiming that they don't have the legal right to fix an innocent man's imprisonment in a foreign country. All of this follows the Supreme Court mandate that the administration facilitate Garcia's return, and that's another indication of Trump's willingness to use dictatorial powers, even in defiance of federal laws and rulings, right? They're literally disappearing people in the streets and then claiming they have no power to do anything about it. It's not a coincidence that Trump and MAGA forces are starting disappearances and abductions that clearly break the law and undermine the Constitution by targeting people who are not white. They're relying on and stoking racism through this strategy. They're relying and stoking anti-immigrant sentiment and xenophobia through Garcia's case, and they are relying on and stoking Islamophobia in Khalil's case, right? And this is intentional. The message they are sending to white people is that, we can be safe at the expense of immigrants, of non-citizens, at the expense of non-white people, and that the U.S. is for white Christian people, right? They have a calculation that if they come for those who are most vulnerable, if they come for people of color, that those of us who are white will buy that lie and that we will be too scared to take action. And so we have to refuse to buy that lie and we have to refuse to stay silent. And we have to turn back to the communities we come from. We have to turn back towards other white people and help more and more of us refuse that lie and move into action. The first step is us choosing a side and stepping into action, but it's not enough for us just by ourselves to do that. We've got to bring more people along with us. Our work as white people is to show up big when those in power deploy racist strategies that are trying to divide or silence us. So this week, we were really heartened to see that the building trades spoke out, calling for the release of Garcia and reminding folks that he's a working class person. He's a member of IBEW, and they called on Trump to bring him home. We need a lot more of this, a lot of working class leadership that is centering solidarity in this moment. So SURJ is proud to be joining union and community-backed national coalition called May 1st Strong, where we're going to be holding another big round of rallies across the country on May Day. We're going to be calling out for workers' rights and working class organizing and the importance of solidarity and standing together across lines of difference as Trump tries to divide us, right? So if you are a SURJ member or you just want to get into action, we are encouraging you to find a rally to join. We're supporting over 100 actions by our members across the country. And so please click the link below to join us in that day of action. This is building on the April 5th day of action, the hands-off actions, where more than 1 million people in all 50 states attended over 1,400 rallies calling on Trump to keep his hands off our communities. It was a big, broad coalition, exactly what we need in this moment. And we've also been seeing, like hundreds of thousands of people across the Sun Belt showing up in the Fighting Oligarchy tour with Bernie and AOC. And we're seeing record-breaking crowds just this last week in Los Angeles, Salt Lake City, City, Bakersfield. So people are in motion and understand the stakes of this period, and we've got to continue that momentum. So there's hope, and please join us in keeping up the fight by joining us for a May 1st action.